focused on school board topics. I will screen questions, and respectfully worded questions will be read for the candidates. Following the opening statements, each candidate will be asked a question from the list of prepared questions and be given time to respond. After the completion of the prepared questions, then the questions will come from the community members. The candidates will have the opportunity to respond to those community questions if they so wish. Candidates are not allowed to distribute campaign literature during the forum, and at the conclusion of all questions or of our allotted time, candidates will be given the time for a closing statement if you so wish to give one. All right. Voting takes place on November 7th, and I'll remind you again at the end of the forum that it's important to get out there and vote for the candidate local on our local elections. Okay. So with that, I think we'll start with our opening statements. And Mr. Mike Andrews, would you start with your opening?
Sure. Well, my name is Mike Andrews. My opening statement is pretty much question one. I decided to join the school board because I have two kids that are in the community and going to schools here. And I decided to take more of an active role in what they're doing and what's going on in the community and the schools. And that's why I became coaching hockey and went on the youth association for the hockey board. And now I'm following up with the school board.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Derek Melner. I have working here on the range for the last 5 years. I'm a service member. I work at Tufco Incorporated, one of our local businesses. I recently was named head coach of Evelyn Gilbert football. Prior to that, I was a volunteer football coach. I coached in defense for the Golden Bears. What really brings me here today is to ensure that your voice, taxpayer out there from our district, is heard. How I do that, I have several ideas, but ultimately it's what's best for the kids. It's what's most importantly fiscally responsible for our communities. And how do we move forward and progress to have a future? I believe in the future of our district. There's prosperity ahead.
Okay, thank you. So one thing as far as questions, I think I'll alternate back and forth so that I'm not always going to one person who's going to always have to lead the questions and let the other person think about their answers. So I will be alternating back and forth. So I think I'll come back to you, Mr. Molnar, and asking that first question that we had prepared was, what has motivated you to want for a position on the Evelyn Gilbert School Board? Do you want to add anything more than what you talked about in your opening statement?
Sure, absolutely. To bring leadership, I've been since 2009 when I graduated college from the University of North Dakota. I enlisted in the service, the Army National Guard. I was shortly thereafter activated. I served overseas, fought in Operation New Dawn in Kuwait and Iraq, and I was a leader amongst a lot of young men at that time. And as I've progressed through those ranks, I've learned the art of leadership. And a big thing for me is positivity and overcoming adversity. I sense some adversity that our school board has faced and will continue to face until we come together and have that respect and have that courtesy towards each other. And I will bring that profession to that board. I will bring my leaders. Have good days ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Andrews, anything as what motivated you to run for the school board position?
Pretty much the same as before. I want to take a more active role in the community, be a part of the decisions that need to be made to go forward, doing that through the community input as an elected leader to make their voice be heard. And again, kids, that's why I'm doing it, my two kids and the rest of the kids that are out there in the community.
Okay, thank you. So on to question two. Mr. Andrews, what experience and skills have prepared you to serve the board?
Where do I start? I've walked different shoes in my life, and a lot of adversity talk today. So I've had so many things in my life where I've had to overcome, adapt, whether it was in my personal life, in my military life, my deployment, hunting accidents, and just overcoming. It makes, I'm even-headed, even-keeled. I like to take in the big picture before I make any rash decisions, and do what's best that's going to be fiscally responsible and yet promote the communities and keep an even keel. I don't want to just spend money to spend money when we have it. It has to make sense. It has to meet the big picture. And I've had all kinds of walks of life with college accidents where I've had to overcome that. I feel I can be even keeled and listen to the community and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mullner, same question. What experiences and skills have prepared you to serve on the school board?
Being an alum of Evelyn Gilbert, I know the faculty, some of the staff that taught me, have an understanding of the local area, the economy, what it means to be a student, being a Golden Bear. Walk that life. Mm-hmm. Now I mentor, coach that life, how to be successful, how to move forward, how to go experience things, come back, right, and then make a difference. You know, I was lucky enough to be in a household with a mother and a father, and they taught me the principles that I carried on to the next stage of life, on to college. Had great leaders, mentors that I followed through college into my military service. Probably none greater than Charles G. Kemper. He's a soon-to-be general. But leadership, giving back, all these things, it's wonderful. And it really makes life rewarding. And I learned that at a young age from great role models. And so when I came back and I said, well, this is an opportunity to do something, I'm going to coach. This is that next step. And so what has prepared me? I would say my mentors have prepared me, the training I've received. I've been a company commander. I've been responsible for not only millions of equipment and infrastructure or security or nationally, but I've been responsible for, most importantly, individual life, those soldiers' welfare, their morale. How do we move forward? Building a team, developing a team, growing. And so at 32, I have a lot of experiences and great people that did good things. And so I continue to do that forward, and I just pay it forward. Mm-hmm. And there's no guarantees in life, but every day you try to inspire, you try to do these things, try to make a difference, try to help somebody that day. And there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, there's going to be conflict, but how do we find the resolution? And finding resolution, solving problems, that's what I'm good at. And that's what I'm going to bring to that board.
Okay, thank you. So I'll jump into the next question there. So what do you identify as any of the district's strengths or weaknesses, and how would you sustain any strength or overcome any weaknesses?
Mm-hmm. I'd say strengths, the teachers, the faculty, firsthand. They prepared me when I went out to University of North Dakota. I was prepared to study and prepared to do work. And then combine that with the athletic regiment that we had as a fighting Sioux. I overcame that because of those teachers. And good parenting, of course. But it's a good combination of those. It's a combination of both. You got to have support in the classroom, support in the household, and use the resources that are available. We do that, and we provide for a 2A school. We provide all kinds of extracurricular activities. That's mm-hmm. Now, team sports kept me out of trouble. I had good coaches, so they had hiring. I had coaches that made it for me, but laid expectations, set goals. I do the same thing. Today was our closeout, our evaluations, our closeout counseling of football players. and we are affecting their lives. We talk about the next year. Don't think too big picture, not 2 years from now or 3, but how do we get to that goal for next year? Well, you do it tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. So I had people there at this school that allowed me to be successful and gave me tools to work with. Many of those people are still here. We have people here. They have good hearts, they have great intentions, and they want the best for the students. I mean, what more can you ask for? So that's a strength. Team sports, all these team sports, phenomenal. Stay out of trouble, don't do drugs, less likely to be drinking. Life, narrow road that we walk. So, and then the arts. We have choir. We have, isn't there a play in Jane I Read tonight, right? Mm-hmm. We have these things. What don't we have? It's probably the single most important sector in our society is the blue-collar job. It's the trade jobs. Industrial arts. When I was here, we had shop, we had woodwork, and there was small engine. We need to get those back, even if it's collaboration with other schools. We need those back because when the baby boomers retire, our nation, not just our state, it's nationwide, have a shortage of welders, of mechanics, of plumbers, electricians. We need to emphasize importance in that through action, through providing that opportunity. Technology, absolutely important. We need it. Makes life easier. It's more productive, more working, and it can be 24/7. Mm-hmm. So personalized learning. But we need to teach those skills that we've not, as of recent, we need to get back to that if we're going to have not only a good frame of workers, the next generation of workers here, but nationwide.
So I think you've identified some strengths and weaknesses there. How would you overcome some of those weaknesses, or how would you promote some of those strengths?
As a board member, we set policy. Mm-hmm. There we go.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Andrews, same question. What do you identify as any of the district's strengths or weaknesses, and how would you sustain those strengths or overcome the weaknesses?
The strengths, I'd have to agree with Derek on the faculty. Mm-hmm. All the teachers I've dealt with through my kids have been excellent. They all care about the students. They all want the students to prosper and go forward. The communities, I see a whole bunch of people at all the sports plays or anything else that's hosted. So our community is engaged in what's going on in the schools with the sports and the extracurriculars activities. So we need to promote all of our extracurriculars and keep the community involved and aware of what's going on. But when it comes to the academic side of the community and the community showing up at the board meetings and taking a part of what's going on, I don't see that there. I think that's one of the weaknesses, is that there isn't a lot of communication going on between the community and the board, and that's something we need to strengthen and shore up so that we can all be in the playing field and know what's going on and be able to make educated and sound decisions going forward.
Mm-hmm. So to overcome some of those weaknesses or sustain the strengths?
And it's going to be opening up communication, getting the information out to the public, making sure they know what's going on, when we try to get more involvement from the public and more input from the public through open forums or broadcasts, or what avenue you want to be able to open those communications.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the next question, we'll stay with you, Mr. Andrews. Considering the numerous reports, meetings, and discussions in the past few years regarding the school district's campuses and facilities, what is your position regarding the district's campuses and facilities, and upon what do you base your position?
The facilities are, a lot of them are in disrepair and need upkeeping. I don't remember what the exact number was, but I think we are 4 times more square foot per kid than we should be. That's a lot of space, a lot of wasted resources, a lot of waste. Some of the buildings cannot be utilized any longer because they don't meet fire code, so they're just sitting dead. It would be my position that we look forward into remodeling both facilities and or consolidating to one facility if that's what makes sense fiscally. Facility and all the costs involved with the transportation. We have to fix our buildings. We can't just Band-Aid and throw money to fix something over and over and over when we need to just basically start from scratch with some of them buildings.
Mr. Bullner, same question. Considering the numerous reports, meetings, and discussions in the past few years regarding the school campuses and facilities, what is your position regarding the district's campus facilities, and upon what do you base your position?
Start by saying that I've been doing some research recently, and there's studies that say that facilities have a direct effect on teacher retention, learning experience, their health, and their achievement. So that's a huge thing. Facilities. They are. I would see the numbers of what it would cost, but I'm willing to venture that renovation or remodeling is going to be substantially lower than building brand new. Now, in terms of the consolidation, I think we're under a contractual agreement where we were going to have still where we have students in Evelyn. So that would have to be restructured, and so it'd be interesting to hear what Gilbert residents have to say about that. Those that I've heard so far, they want to keep a school in Gilbert. So then it gets down to the question of how do we keep both? Well, it probably needs to be downsizing, right? Take off some of that space, that unused, that wasted space. And then financially we'll be money in the future. To build new, I consider where our economy is and the potential of combining with other schools in the distant future. Just so irresponsible for me I don't think we should consider that yet, because that's probably going to be anywhere 4 to 5 times more expensive. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, and until that number is out and where that money comes from, which I hope to see if elected, right? Get to see that and what those estimates are. I'm anticipating $300-400 million. Where's that coming from? So right now it's like, well, let's fix what we got, be smart, and maybe 5-10 years from now, things have changed, because change is inevitable. Evelyn and Gilbert were never together, and then they were. Mm-hmm. But right now, from what I've heard from our taxpayers, our voting district citizens, they're saying we need to keep schools in Gilbert and keep schools in Evelyn, and if we need to downsize, let's downsize and save money. And that's going to cost money, but far less than brand new. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be their voice, those people. And I encourage anyone that would like to communicate with me about that and express their opinion differently to go on to, I have a Facebook group page, Derek Melner for Evelyn Gilbert School Board, and engage with me on that, please.
Okay. So we're going to move to the next question, Mr. Melner. So what is your perspective concerning any district collaboration, cooperation, or validation with other districts or entities? I know you've alluded to that a little bit, but if you want to expand more on that.
Industrial arts, we've done that in the past. That'd be a great opportunity. I believe transportation, we've started to do that. So maybe continue saving the resources on logistics. I mean, you can save those dollars there amount to a lot at the end of the year. I have not seen the budget, so I can't speculate. But I would, I've been in charge of, I've had money as a company per division plans now. So we make plans for, several thousand soldiers, 34th Infantry Division in our work cell. So there's that are allocated for training, right? And so I look at it, take that military hat and I'll apply it to the school. All right, this is X is what we have, and YZ, this is what we've spent it on, but what aren't we seeing? Are we in a deficit from year to year? All right, we save. And crossing those bridges before something huge like joining Virginia. I love that with Gilbert. I think we have a great school district. Let's try to improve that as best from within on these off branches. And if that doesn't work, we'll cross that bridge at that time. I think we're making good steps. Some of the meetings we've had in the past have been very productive.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Andrews, same question. What is your perspective concerning any district collaboration, cooperation, or consolidation with other districts or entities?
I think we for sure need to look into collaboration. And there's many events. Logistics is a huge one. There's many that Virginia, Ivolith is going to the same place where one bus can take them all versus two buses, two districts paying when we could split that cost. We could even look with the open enrollment for transportation. We could somehow consolidate and collaborate with Virginia on bus routes, because there's no sense in having 3 buses for 3 districts going by the same place if we can coordinate and work that in a joint effort. As far as consolidation, where you're going to consolidate the 2 schools into one, I don't think we're there. Is that something that's going to happen? I don't have a crystal ball. But if the district continues to lose kids at a clip of 30 to 50 kids every year, it's probably going to be something that may happen, and it may be something you want to prepare yourself for. So getting in a good collaboration with any entity now and being on good speaking terms with them is huge. And then there's classes that can be offered collaboratively. If there's a handful of kids in each school that want some type of specialty course, but it doesn't make sense fiscally to hold it for 6 kids in Evelyn, but there's another 6 in Virginia. With the technology, and you can ITV, have a joint classroom in each campus through technology, that would do great wonders for advancing the education for our students right now also. So I think good collaboration and cooperation with us, other districts, can be a very good thing.
Okay. What do you view as the most important educational aspects that affect students? What would be your priorities in addressing those aspects?
The most important educational aspects that affect students is, I would have to say, they're the ones that are with the students one-on-one, and the support that they can give the students, and by teaching them and leading them in the right direction, a role model is a big aspect for the student. Priorities in addressing that would be to make sure that our teachers are starting to train, but we now have them leaving early an hour every Wednesday to increase technology learning so they can incorporate that in the classroom and be able to give the students other avenues versus just book, pen, and paper that they can explore where to learn. Teaching students is the biggest aspect for our students, is making them prepared for when they leave high school, whether that's going to college, going to a trade school, or going to the workforce. Making sure they're prepared when they leave our system.
So would you say your highest priority is that teaching staff professional development is kind of what I'm hearing?
Because staff have to maintain professional development, keep growing so that they can bring that back down to the students and keep them going forward.
Anything else as far as priorities go, of things that you would add to that list?
Not at right On the moment, no.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Molnar, same question. What do you view as important educational aspects that affect students? And what would be your priorities for addressing those aspects?
Well, the experience, the relationships with teachers, multiple teachers, people in the classroom, that's very high on the priority scale. It needs to be positive environment, a caring environment there, safe environment, so that they can learn, especially in the elementary, early stage of life, because their brain wiring is just starting to go. So, to have that positive environment, they'll look back on it and likely to return. Then into middle school or in high school, when we're starting to graduate from basic competency, reading, writing, computing, to then you're talking the sciences and the arts and introduction to this great world of social norms, right? Mm-hmm. Especially in middle school. I think it's important we, as a district, teach at a high level all the latest and greatest things, right? But that we ensure these young people are disciplined and being held to a high standard. As they get older is more and more important, because without that, they're less likely to be motivated, less likely to achieve. So if we bring in an idea of where this student may or may not, that's probably where they're going to be. But if we do a high standard and we push, and I know our teachers do, if we push and continue to push, they'll continue to achieve. And then how do we get to that point? Well, it's obviously the teaching methods we use, but it's the resources we have, the tools that we have at disposal, and we've got the pad now. So in the early years, they're doing the games that enhance learning faster, right? Mm-hmm. And in middle school, kids that maybe have a harder time learning in group because they're distracted. Well, now they get to do it on their pad at home when they're in a secluded area. They're more productive there. So we're offering these tools, and then it's a matter of a societal issue, I believe, is to set high standards, to explore more, to push them. We've got, Todd Ufferty's reading book club or book club, things like that. Let's get back to the roots, because nothing beats face-to-face encouragement, positivity, and expectation. When our teachers are disappointed in someone, when our coaches are disappointed in someone, it will affect them psychologically, emotionally, and that will trigger positive results. So it's that environment. It's the learning environment is the absolute most important thing. Mm-hmm. And to enhance that, it's the tools and the resources to provide those teachers to use. So we have to wage funding with resources, with what we can provide, but we have to be smart about that, talk to them, engage with those teachers, sit in conferences, learn, and then try our best, right? Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm also hearing professional development as one of those areas, but maybe maybe more specifically on those relationships and teaching methods and things like that.
Teaching methods, relationships are huge in life. That's the biggest thing in life right now. Mm-hmm. Our young people, not everyone has the male or the female role model. A lot of broken households. So we might end up being a model for them that we don't realize, but they love us. And we might be the one person in their life that says, you can do it. And so that relationship is there, yeah.
Okay. Any other priorities of things that you would identify as?
I mentioned it earlier, but I think the importance of the extracurricular activities. Learning to work in a team. Learning to work with others that maybe you don't get along with. But for the betterment of our play or of our band, we need to be synchronized. We need to have mutual respect, mutual understanding. And those skills that we focus, 21st century skills that we are developing. I mean, that is there too. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So with you, Mr. Mulliner, on the next question. How would you ensure fiscal responsibility in the district?
I have to look at the budget initially, and I look at our past spending, previous years, and look, we're under budget or close to budget, right? What do we do differently, or what, and then just problem solve and work with others and talk.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Andrews, how would you ensure fiscal responsibility in the district?
Well, first and foremost, you can't spend more than you got coming in. And from year to year, that changes, because depending on the enrollment size, the amount of money that's coming in the district is different. Different programs are different amounts of money coming in. I believe it was the Title I or something got cut, so to adjust accordingly. And then that would take us back to the other question of collaboration. If there's anything we can collaborate with other districts on, whether it's transportation, advanced classes that we could give money on and share the cost, that's going to be fiscally responsible and give our kids more opportunities. Back to the facilities. If we remodel and can take away some costs, some of the repeated fixes of the same thing over and over by remodeling, in the short term it's going to cost us a little bit more, but in the long run it's probably going to save us just money down to where that's fiscally responsible. But bottom line, you can't spend more than you got coming in.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What are your views on the roles and relationship between the school board and the superintendent?
My view is the school board is here to make policy, set policy. The superintendent adheres, enforces that policy, gives suggestions, input to how the policy is working or not working, the board members' ideas of what could or could not improve upon them policies for them to have an informed decision to reset, remake, or improve upon policies that are out there right now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mulliner, same question. What are your views on the roles and relationships between the school board and the superintendent?
The role of school board is to set policies, as Mike mentioned, for our students, their experience, right? Like that, and that also affect the taxpayers' dollar. Probably the single greatest task of school board is selection of a superintendent. And then that relationship between school board and superintendent, stress communication. Utmost importance in that relationship, communication. And direct. But certainly my expectation would be that I would receive written communication about what the board meeting will present, like an agenda item, so then I would have time to research and hear, right, and prepare for that meeting. But yeah, it's got to be a two-way street, and something I had read in it was a university. They said that the best schools had communication change between the superintendent and the school board at a far greater rate than those that didn't. The average was in around 3 to 4 hours a week. Some of these schools that finished with the highest levels of achievement had multiple hours through written put time invested. But yeah, it's a fluid relationship and trust.
All right, thanks. Next question. Today we live in a technology-driven world. I think you've talked about that already. Describe your position on the integration of technology into our classrooms, your own technology, and explain how you would approach technology issues that come before the school board.
think there's multiple ways to incorporate technology. We have, even there's colleges out there, Columbia University, Phoenix, it's full-time online. And that affords people that work a job or a night job, 2 jobs instead of education. So, and there's high schools out there that have courses. There's a school in Michigan that has courses available up to 2 courses a year, a semester, in addition to the 4 to 6 hours they have of face-to-face time with a teacher. And that would be considered a blended training, blended learning model. In my experiences, in the military, we do a lot of training, but it's blended. Its majority is online, but we, at the end or in midway, usually about what we consider a midterm, we would meet an expert, a subject matter expert, and he would be able to answer all those questions that online or doesn't answer. Mm-hmm. Those real world experiences. It does work. Online training works because it's so personalized. We can do it whenever it fits our schedule. And kids are busy too. I think that bringing somewhat of a blended model would probably be a good idea. And why not have some courses available, those hard characters to take. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we have a lot of good tools, and I think we'll continue as technology changes. So will all these schools, right?
Mm-hmm. Can you expand just a little bit more on how you approach those technology issues or proposals that would come to the school board?
I would say with an open mind. Important, because to not only research but to take tours of some other schools that have had success in certain capacities of tech. Mm-hmm. And then we can decide, is this best or not? But obviously community input's important, taxpayer dollars is important. Mm-hmm. So,
okay, yeah. Thank you. Mr. Andrews, today we live in a technology-driven world. Describe your position on the integration of technology into our classrooms, your own technology background, and explain how you would address technology-related issues that for the school.
I think it's important that we integrate technology into the classrooms. Technology is always changing, and when you leave the classroom, go into the world, technology is there. No matter pretty much any job you take now, you need to know some bit of technology. Whether it's how to run a computer, how to run a computer, how to run machines, what have you. So I think it's important that we keep up with technology. I went to school, got a networking degree, and totally shifted course and went to human services. And even that degree now is obsolete that I got years and years ago. I couldn't tell you how to operate network some of this out there nowadays. Mm-hmm. So we do even have to keep up with the times. We have to, when something changes, we gotta be as quick as we can about integrating it into the classroom so the kids aren't behind when they leave. When that type of stuff comes to the school board, to me it's how is it going to benefit our kids? Explain to me how it works, explain to me the cost, and is it fiscally responsible to make that change? Tell me how, why, and what, and we can go from there.
Okay. Thank you. So this is our last question. So for audience members, if you have questions ready, get them ready. And anybody online or who would like to begin with questions, we're taking a couple of questions there too. So this is the last prepared question. What is your opinion concerning the district's communications and relations with students, parents, staff, and the community?
Communication, this is really tough because when it comes to the parents, there's pretty good communication between parents and staff and students and parents, at least. There's good communication. I think we're lacking in the communication with the community. I don't know how we solve that right now, But we have to look at ways to solve that gap in the community on board to what's going on in the district. Like I said, I don't know what that bridge is yet, but we definitely got to think outside the box and try to pull the majority of the community back in with the district, of the school district, and get that flow going both ways.
Okay. And Mr. Mullner, what is your opinion concerning the district's communications and relations with students, parents, staff, and community?
So there's a lot there in that question.
There is. Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, I would say, how do we bridge that gap? We put it out there. We tell them the numbers. This is what we're considering, option A, B, and C. This is going to cost $400 million. This is going to cost 70. What does it mean to the single taxpayer? If we have those numbers, why don't I know? How come my counterparts, my fellow citizens, don't know that? Question I think you asked, there's been lots of conversation joining, lots of conversation about new facilities, why don't we, I would say there has been, no disrespect, a lack of effort. It's pretty easy to get something on a piece of paper called the newspaper, Mesabi Daily. It's pretty easy. How about a town hall meeting? And it's on this subject. We're going to be hearing your voice. We're going to have a vote on this, just so we have a poll on, say 100 people show up. 70 didn't support this. 30 supported that. We need to do that and just be proactive with it and not say how or why, just do. You want to do something, go and do it. We have plenty of wherewithal and the means to do it. Just a matter of the right people in charge. So.
Great, thank you. So that brings us to the end of our prepared questions. I think we have a couple of questions that on the call-in that we'll get here really shortly, and we'll have questions. And audience members, any questions that you have? No questions? Okay. Thank you, Sue. All right. So, keeping in order of our questions, I think we'll direct the first question to Mr. Mullner. So one of the questions that was called in, at a recent school board, a request to review invoices was denied. How would you deal with a situation where a request for information is denied?
How would I deal with? So we as a school board denied the request for invoices, correct?
That's what I believe it's asking, yes.
I would ask for what purpose? If this was invoices of all invoices or a certain segment of?
So if somebody was to bring an issue to the school board,
Yep.
I guess I'm interpreting or paraphrasing
Got it.
here, how would you deal with a situation where a request for that information is denied? Like somebody's asking for that information.
The information were to hurt our district by putting that out there, understand, but we're talking numbers here. There's no shame in numbers. Wasn't it like Mesabi asked for $12 million for the remodeling? At least we got a number, right? I don't have a problem with, but there's information on the invoice that might be, for security purposes. But if maybe it's not the actual invoice, but we take these numbers, simplify it, and say, here we go. How I would recommend we handle it. There must be a justified reason why they didn't disclose that information. I guess what I'm getting at.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Andrews, same question. So, at that recent school board meeting, a request to review invoices was denied. How would you deal with that, with a situation where a request for the information was denied?
I don't know if there's a blanket statement for something like that. I think it's really vague. I think I need to know what invoice or what numbers they want to see. Because yes, the budget should record, I believe. But I don't know if individual invoices could violate any HIPAA or data privacy laws that we have to be aware of. So it's not a real easy question to answer. If it's something that can be given to the public, I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be given out. And as Derek mentioned, there was a reason why they didn't divulge that out.
Okay. One more question that came in from a caller. Should a school board evaluate? If so, how would you be sure you have adequate information to set goals and measure them?
Yes, the school board should evaluate their superintendent. What goals and perspectives should come out on that? I think that would have to be a board as a whole meeting to come up with what goals they want to see accomplished, what direction they want the school board to, and then, or not the school board, but the superintendent, role they want the school to go, and how the superintendent is enforcing those policies and those rules to move forward. But I'm not sure exactly what area I'm at a loss for words here. I definitely think that's a school board decision that they'd have to come to an agreement of parameters they want to set when evaluating the superintendent.
Thank you. Mr. Mullner, same question. Should a school board evaluate a superintendent? And if so, how would you be sure you have adequate information to set goals and measure them?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely evaluate our superintendent. We select the superintendent. I could see a honeymoon, like a grace period of maybe 6 to 12 months after selection where you're establishing that working relationship and you're identifying issues or concerns in that process. But certainly superintendents fluctuate. They go from place to place, right? They do, right? And there's a reason for that. Both good and bad, because the grass is always greener, right? But on the same side, one thing they're their job. So what is the parameters? Right off the get-go, this is what expectations are when that selection, that hiring committee is formed. And are you willing to meet these expectations? And then, all right, this is a list of tasks that this is how we're going to handle. This is your zone, this is our zone. And then you build upon that, and you absolutely evaluate through the years. Because at this point, the contract's up, and you got to decide, do we want to keep this man or woman, or are we considering elsewhere? I'm sure in some cases, being up job, absolutely, we want to keep them, right? But you still, equal opportunity, you got to, right, hire, give other people opportunity. But yeah, we are evaluators, we are selectors, and the superintendent he's the one that's going to communicate. He's in touch with It's a big responsibility. So we're not going to pass judgment on that individual. We'll constructively criticize and also reward and award. Thank you. Good job. You're doing awesome on this. And you give that constructive, that positive too. And that's that communication I was talking about between school board and superintendent. There has to be a trust there. There has to be respect there. I mean, tactful conversations. And you professionally moving in a direction. And this is where we go, and this is how the board, how I feel as Director Mellner. This is how I feel, right? And then each of those members has that respect from that superintendent, and the sky's the limit as an organization, as a district.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions? Audience members, I don't think we have call-in questions right now.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Being on the board is a huge time commitment. It's a lot of risk. It's really important to be at those meetings. Do each of your personal lives allow for that time commitment?
So we'll start with you, Mr. Malmer. Asking about time commitment.
Right. I would say, so if I'm activated every month, right? The state, I train I'm in the National Guard. I'm division plans right now. I may not make a certain meeting, but I will most definitely be beforehand so that I have something that could be read if it needs to be read. Provide that information. Now, I drill once a month, maybe 2 days. Saturday, Sunday might be a Monday through, or a Friday through a Monday. Or it might be a little lengthier. So other than that, coaching's not a non-issue. In season, I have a tendency to talk my guys to death after practice. I'll just have to cut that a little short, right? And then I'll make it to the meeting after practice. But my military service, I've been able to handle, time manage that, and are going well in regard to military service. My civilian job, working at Tufco Incorporated, it's a 7 to 3 job, and it's a family business, and those are some great leaders. My father and my uncle, they respect me, they trust me, and they allow me to, if there needs to be a conversation, I absolutely will have that conversation with so-and-so and get the job done. It's all about progressing and moving and being responsible. If I am elected, I will be accountable for that position. Everyone will know why I'm not there if I'm not there, but it's my reason. I have reason to believe I will make most. If I'm activated by the federal army, obviously, that can happen. I mean, we have lots of threats in this world. Then yeah, I will be deployed. But you have my whole heart. You have my. I'll bring it when I'm here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Andrews, same question as far as time commitment for the school board?
Well, it's hockey season, so I know I'm stretched. Coach one team, I coach another team. However, I'm pretty good at time management, able to rearrange things, work things around. An example I could give is when I was pursuing my psychology degree, I did it at night. I carried 20 credits a quarter, semester. I still spent every weekend with my family without school, and I worked full-time, and I made 3.5. So I can make my time work to the best of my ability.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from the audience members or call-ins? Okay. Well, I think with that, we'll look at wrapping up. And so remember that the vote is actually, I want to closing statements before we too quickly there. So I believe we started with Mr. Andrews. So I think I'd like Mr. Mullins could give your closing statement tonight, and then we'll get into wrap up. Thank you.
7th, choose that you believe is best for our district. I look forward to an opportunity to serve our district as a director or school board member. I bring my leadership, my heart, my integrity to that table and ensure your voice is heard. That's why I'm running. It's for you all.
Thank you. Mr. Andrews, your closing statement.
This will be pretty short. I'd be honored if you voted for me. I want to take the community's input and implement it towards the board. Regardless of which candidate you choose to vote for, please go out and vote November 7th. That's where your voice is going to be heard. Also, come out to the school board meetings. Pay attention to what's going on, learn what's going on. If you want to vote anything out there, get yourself registered and signed up to speak. But again, go out and vote.
Thank you. So with that, I think we'll bring this a close. And I want to thank our candidates again for participating, and thank you to the community members that participated and the students that are present here tonight, and all those that are taking the time to the the school board forum tonight. So, thank you, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulliner.
Brian?
All right. Have a good night.